Okay, well, welcome. This is kind of new to me. I haven't done a live feed one. I did the recorded one for the symposium, so I'll try anything once, twice if I wasn't sure the first time. So, one of the things I wanted to talk to people about is how you put your hands on. And when we're doing upgrades, we often comment on a person's use of self. And sometimes that's a little bit of a gray area for some people. And I think it's better experientially than it is visually at first, so that you can experience a change in your use. And that's what I hope to give you today. What I'd like you to do is find what I call the bubbling spring of your hand. There's a reflex point. I use it when I teach the bubbling spring period. But if you trace down from your middle finger across your palm, you'll find a place where if you press on a relaxed hand, if your hand is tense, it won't work. But if you go down and on a relaxed hand, it will cause your hand to bend. That is a reflex point, much like the one in your feet that we use as a bubbling spring. Good. Can you find it? All right. So now I'd like you to, if you just put a little bit of awareness there, maybe tap each palm just to wake it up, just like we do with your feet. And I'd like you to place your hand either on your thigh or on your knee, whichever is more comfortable. You want to be sitting up and as close to being on your seat bones as you can with the comfortable seating you've got there. Yeah. All right. So lay your hand on your leg, wherever is comfortable, and see if you can connect that bubbling spring with your leg. Is the weight of each of your fingers the same, or is your thumb or maybe your pinky finger heavier? Is the heel of your hand heavier or lighter than your fingers? Now think of your breathing, your centering, your building blocks, finding the ground with your feet as well. And as you change your breathing, centering, building blocks, is there a change in your hand? Can you think of your hand as receiving your leg instead of your leg supporting your hand?
Oh, I like that.
I'm glad. Another one. It was just all right. Now, can you think of allowing your fingers to lengthen away from your wrists? The bones of your forearms also lengthening away from your wrists. Does that change anything in your hand, in your leg?
In my center.
Aha! Very good. And then if you can think of your humerus, your upper arm bone, lengthening out your elbow so that you've got the bones of your forearm and the bones of your upper arm both lengthening out your elbow. Maybe put a little spigot on there and let the energy come out.
I feel my shoulder blades relaxing.
Good. All right. Now, what happens if you stop breathing? Does it change your hands? How about getting hard eyes? Do your hands get heavier or do they kind of disappear?
Heavier.
They got
It
stiffer.
could be. Yeah. Okay, so again, try and think of finding the connection with that bubbling spring of your hand to your leg, and then think of your leg as touching your hand, and your hand receives. Does that change the connection at all? Try pushing with the hand and then releasing, and then feeling a receiving hand. Now, how do you think this is going to work for body work? Well, can you pair up? Now, don't forget that you want to ask permission to put your hands on. Some people at a clinic I attended this last fall had a nice way of putting it. May I show you with my hands? Yep, because sometimes pair up and think about your use. Decide who's going to put whose hands on and who's going to be the receiver.
Oh, receive?
Okay, so the hands-on person's going to find their feet.
We're facing each other away.
Facing at right angles so that you're looking at your partner's shoulder.
Like this?
Yeah, like that. Okay, and yes, because normally I'd be there demonstrating, but you want to have one hand on the front of the shoulder, one hand on the back of the shoulder. So now at this time, pay attention to your use. Your feet on the ground, your breathing, your centering. Thinking of allowing your head to go forward and up and maybe even over your partner. Now pay attention to the weight of your hands. Can you allow the weight of your hands to be taken up by your shoulders? So it's a connection without weight, which is very different from just airy hands. Take your hands and let them float a little bit. And what does your person think of that? If you lighten the touch by pulling your hand away. Yeah. Somebody doesn't like that too much. Okay, so take your hands completely off, give them a little shake. Be aware of that bubbling spring again, and then take the heel of your hand and rest that on your partner and allow your fingers to lengthen over their shoulder. All right, so receivers, is there a difference there?
Yes, it felt lighter, lifted.
All right, and is it maybe clearer? It's kind of like if you go too lightly, it's like riding with your fingers open on the reins. Whereas if you go too hard, it's like hammering on the reins. So you want to find that connection and think about that little bit of a magnetic connection with that bubbling spring. Now, the hands-on person, the teaching person, think of letting your spine move back in your body. Like your partner's arm has the same magnetic polarity as your spine. You're going to be like two like magnets. So there's going to be a little magnetic push away. Yes. That was good, Kathy. I can see her better from this vantage point because I can see her side. But did you feel that when you did that, you got a little more of a zing in yourself there, a little more freedom in your head and neck? Yeah. Okay. Just checking. All right. And now I want you to think through your partner's shoulder. across the collarbones and shoulder blades to their spine. And then to the other, jump onto the other collarbone and shoulder blade, and then out the shoulder. Anything happening in shoulders? Receivers?
Yeah, I could or like twitch and release. That was wild.
Mine felt lower, like it
That's so
softened.
cool. I just think that's so cool.
Yeah. Okay, so your body worker didn't do anything, did they? They just used themselves better. Uh-oh, messing with brains here. Okay. Let's switch roles. Okay, so heel of the hand, allow the fingers to lengthen. And there's a difference between lengthening and stretching, isn't there? So allow your fingers to lengthen away from your wrists. Your forearms to lengthen away from your wrists. And your upper arm to lengthen away from your shoulders. Find that like magnet feeling so that your partner's arm is like it's a magnet and your spine has the same polarity. You're going to think of allowing your spine to move back. Yes, good. And it's not something you do, it's something you think. And you're breathing, your soft eyes. And you're going to be thinking more of listening to your partner rather than changing your partner. You're going to think more of what do I want in myself? So maybe you need your jaw released. Maybe you need to breathe a little deeper. Maybe your neck could be a little freer, allowing the top of your head to float forward and up. And I always like to feel it like a balloon that floated over my partner's head. The same time as your sacrum allowed to drop.
She like
So
grounded.
again, huh?
She grounded me right into the floor. I feel like my feet are in the.
Okay, so thinking through your hands to your partner's shoulder, thinking across the collarbones and the shoulder blades, across the spine and the sternum, to the other shoulder blade and the other collarbone, and right out the other side.
I feel like there's laser beams and they could just get the birds flying by if she pointed.
Okay, now a little thing I often forget to talk about is when you come off, think of slowly or softly releasing rather than pulling your hands away. And it can be quick, it just needs to be thoughtful. All right, take your hands away gently. And all right, now we've each did one shoulder and one.
I know, I could feel that. That's why I was like, she's gonna fall down.
Yeah, you want to break the connection with your palms and then come out, because yeah, you don't want to draw them into you. And that's another thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is a version of
I lost my balance. It was like a magnetic pull.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know what I did, but I didn't release. I was like pulling my hand away, but taking her with me.
Yeah. And
I could feel that. I came back and then tried to go.
She's
more that
following your
way.
energy.
Yeah, that was cool.
Put your hands on the switch rolls again and use the other shoulder.
I'll just come over.
There we go.
Okay, so hands on. Now, think of taking your hands and encircling your partner's upper arm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you sense through that humerus up to the shoulder? Now, if you release your shoulder, what happens in your student's shoulder, your receiver's shoulder? Okay, and take one hand, the one that's towards the front, and bring it down and cup your student's fingers with your palm. Without bringing it up, just support. Give a little support. So as their arm lengthens, you can follow it down.
You're like 6 inches.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and when you cease to get any more reaction, you can back off. Again, disconnect and then back off. We got one hand a little longer than the others?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
It was longer.
Yeah.
It was like ice cream coming out of
like
a
this
soft
now.
serve, and her arm just kept like oozing.
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, like this one is down to my knee.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even if you're doing whatever you were taught as a classic centered writing release, this is the piece that you need to do less and get more. All right. What would you do if I said, I want to see you do a shoulder release? So the people that just got released get to be the teacher now, and now then go and show me a shoulder release the way you always have done it, if you've done it.
The way
Never done it.
the way that like I would typically do it.
Yeah, the way
Alright,
you would
so-
typically do it.
I don't know that this was the right way, but this was the way that I just so.
Are you breathing? Are you using your soft eyes? Now, can you add the elements in that we were just working on? Find your center. Think of receiving your partner with your hand. Instead of doing something, can you receive? Now think through and do in yourself what you want to happen to your student.
My shoulder blades are in my back pockets.
All right, but does that feel different to the teachers from how that you normally might do this?
I mean,
You
I
and
feel
the
like it
writer
was
awfully
better.
quiet. Go ahead, Steph.
I feel like it was more intentional, like
Yeah.
because of what we did a few minutes ago. I felt like it was much more allow for you instead of trying to make it happen. Which right, but when she first did it, she was not pushing anyway, but it was intentional in the bad way. Then it became intentional in the good way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because at first it was like, arrange this, hold this, just very put tab A into slot.
Almost
make that-
mechanical.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, she's holding my arm like this, so now what's supposed to happen? And then you talk through and she did it in more thinking. Yeah. And everything went, yeah. That's a good way to explain it exactly.
Any comments from the others? I've forgotten names. I've known these other two forever, so
I'm gonna try the one that she did with us, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna go even more.
And I could tell that I was pushy with my thumb and my fingers, so I played a little.
Jeff, you may
around
want to
until
do
I-
the other arm because you already released that one. You're not going to get as much of a go.
Am I squeezing too hard?
No, but I
Pushing
feel
it?
you're not pushing it in any way,
But
but
I'm not
I feel
squeezing.
your fingertips only.
Okay.
So again, be sure that everything has the same amount of weight.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And this is why it's important for instructors to work with each other, give each other feedback. Remembering to do in yourself what you're thinking for your student. That there's the same amount of weight on each of your fingers and your thumb. I had very bossy thumbs when I started this. So, and you're going to receive your student's hand. And you're going to release your jaw and you're going to breathe. And you're going to think of something funny so that your eyes are smiling. Yeah. When you put a little smile behind your eyes, can you feel how it frees your neck a little bit? It's part of the anatomy in your face. So you're going to do what you normally would do for a shoulder release, but thinking of yourself first and coming from those bubbling springs in your hand. And this is always a good time to remember sending your spine back away from your student, that you build a bridge with your arms. You're not going to pull the student towards you or push them away, but you're going to keep each of you have your own personal space. Notice if there's anything in you that's getting stiff. See if you, as a teacher, can let go of something, your jaw, your knees. Those are the usual culprits. That's just not what I'm seeing. So again, think through the bones of the arm. Try that you're going to find the bone. Sally always said, ride from your bones, and this is what this does. Try to keep your soft eyes both as a student and as a rider, as a teacher. The more in you go, the more you shut out the external, and that's including the teacher's hands or the student's body. So pay attention to your use, your free neck, your bubbling springs of your feet and your hands. Nice. And then thinking through and doing yourself what you want your student to do. One of the things about shutting your eyes, it shuts out more than you think. And it shuts out some of the sensation. Try opening and shutting your eyes as you're doing some sensing work. And see if there's a difference when your teacher has their eyes open or shut, or as your student has their eyes open or shut. Which one can you listen better with? One of the things they used to remind us is the more you pay attention to, the more you can pay attention to. Right? Thinking through the bones, up and across. And I think one of the things, how's that shoulder going?
It's not.
It's not? Looks from this end, it almost looks like it is because the other one's going.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Student.
I feel it lengthen, lower, softer.
But there's a resistance there.
Okay.
It feels like a resistance to me.
So where you feel resistance in her, can you let go of that in you?
Okay, there we go. It's my infraspinatus. And my supraspinatus.
All right, so again, think of releasing the connection and then letting go.
You want me to stop now? Is that-
I think, do you think that's as far as you're gonna go?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to underdo, but you don't want to overdo. It's getting a feeling. I usually just go for a release. If I get a release, then I stop. There are others that want to keep going, but sometimes you can get someone uncomfortable, especially if you're doing a leg release. So I go for a little bit at a time and look for the change and the balance more than a big fix. What I'd like to know if there's any questions.
It
I
was
don't-
fabulous. It was so nice to have the reminder of the less is more.
Yeah.
So reminder of the think through as opposed to do. The reminder of spine away. I assume we've all heard them, but most of us have heard that many times. I know working with you for so many years, I've heard this over and over and over. I forget all the time, so that it was really, really effective. And I love having you come from Long Island into our living room at the lake. One person.
Yeah, this travel is a lot easier.
Just when you figured out the directions to the farm, I change it up on you.
Yep.
And sometimes I struggle with the confidence that less is gonna be more, and just go more into myself. And then that's whenever I did that is when you would go, oh, I felt that.
Right?
It was always when I went internal to myself that the
Result.
student responded.
And the funny thing is, that feels more confident than the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like from the receiver.
And I think they're
feel like
going to shut us off in a few seconds here. So, all right. Well, I hope everyone got something out of this, and enjoy your weekend. I'm very jealous, but I have.